to this moment all of the technical skills that I worked so hard on developing, of how to simply focus on the process and let the results take care of themselves. I made the same mistakes almost to the very end, including, I remember vividly, in one of my last test matches against India in January 2015 at the SCG. I hadn't scored any runs during that series. I went into that game knowing I was massively under pressure, with the World Cup and an away Ashes series coming up. In the lead up to that test match, I got nailed by a journalist at a press conference. The reporter went hard at me saying, "Do you think you deserve to be in the team? You haven't scored runs for ages." Sometimes criticism by the media can be brushed off. This was very hard to do because everyone knew it was true. I knew going into that test match that if I didn't score runs, my test career was probably done, and potentially then the opportunities in the World Cup at home might have been different. I fell back into my default mindset for that innings. I reverted to the timid teenager I had been in that under-19s match, in terror of getting out. I only got as many as 81 in 4 hours, thanks to some generous bowling from Suresh Raina. I got out as indecisively as I batted, holing out to a man I knew was halfway to the fence. It was one of the worst shots I ever played to end one of the worst innings of my career. It was the final straw. I knew I never wanted to bat like that again. But how could I stop myself? I had no idea, and I played only 3 more test matches. You might be tempted now to think I'm being too hard on myself and my career. Maybe you'll remember some good things I did. I do too. The 2 World Cups, 2 Allan Border medals, the 2 Indian Premier League MVPs didn't occur by accident. Well, not entirely anyway. Sometimes it was the case that circumstances pushed me into the right mindset and things would click. A very special feeling, of course. But on my own, I now realise I did not have the mental skills to achieve those states. Peak performance tended to find me, rather than the other way round. I did not understand all the simple components. I certainly could not repeat them. I looked on at other players, really great players, who seemed to do it naturally. But I was never sure what I was meant to be looking at, trying to imitate. My test career ended with me as much in the dark as ever. Then I had a stroke of luck. This book has come about because of a chance meeting in 2015 with someone from a very different sport to cricket, Will Power, Australian IndyCar champion. It is amazing in life how someone can so randomly come into your life out of nowhere and have such an incredible impact on it. Will and I were presenting awards at a rugby league awards night, and I was sitting next to him. We started talking about various things to start with, but it very quickly turned to something that Will had been wrestling with for a while, and so had I. Will started talking about how all aspects of his life had been affected by the death of a good friend during a race. It had affected his performances. It had impacted his relationships. It had broken him. I immediately saw parallels between his experience and the devastating effects on my generation of cricketers the year before of the death of one of ours. I had found this extremely difficult to talk about, even to my wife. It had not only intensified the stress of my underperformance on the field, but eaten away at my life at home. I was struggling to do things as simple as play in the backyard with my 2-year-old son. It turned out that for the first time in our respective careers, Will and I were trying to overcome a genuine fear for our lives while doing what we loved. Will, however, had made the decision to do something about it by consulting with a mental skills guru based in the United States, Dr Jacques Dallaire. Jacques is a well-known performance expert in the motor racing world. He has worked with hundreds of top-level racing car drivers from F1 to IndyCars. He's also worked with fighter pilots and special forces personnel, as well as other high-performing sports people and business leaders to improve their mental skills in high-pressure environments and achieve their dreams. I wasn't so interested in dreams. I simply wanted a nightmare to end. Will connected me with Jacques, and from our first conversation over the phone, I knew I was going to get something very powerful out of working with him. I was so immediately impressed, in fact, that I flew to Charlotte, North Carolina to enroll in Jacques' mental skills program. I felt it was worth the investment, even just for one nugget of gold that could help me in my next life as a cricket coach, which at the time was what I really wanted to do post my playing days. 2 days. That was all it took. 2 days. It's 2 days I now wish I had at the start of my career.